You know that moment when someone says something so cruel that it actually sets you free? My mother looked me dead in the eyes and said those exact words. "You're dead to us." I remember the silence that followed. The way my father just stood there, nodding, like I was some kind of disease they needed to cut out. But here's the thing about being declared dead by your own family. It means you don't owe them anything anymore. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting in my tiny apartment, eating cereal for dinner, again, when my phone buzzes. Bank notification. Inheritance deposit, successful. $2.7 million. From my grandmother's estate. The grandmother, they told me, had written me out of her will. The grandmother, they said, never wanted to see me again. Turns out, that was a lie. And now, I had a choice to make. See, they expected me to do the right thing. They expected me to call them, crying, apologizing, begging them to take me back and split the money. Because that's what the old me would have done. The old me, who spent 32 years trying to earn their love. The old me, who believed their version of who I was supposed to be. But the old me was dead to them. So I did exactly what dead people do. Nothing. I kept every single penny. And what happened next? Well, let's just say they learned the hard way that declaring someone dead doesn't always go the way you planned. My phone started ringing within hours. But dead people don't answer phones. Dead people don't respond to texts. Dead people definitely don't hand over inheritance money to the family that killed them. This is the story of how my family tried to bury me alive, and how I let them. Let me paint you a picture of the family that declared me dead. The Harrisons. That's us. Well, that's them now, I guess. From the outside, we looked perfect. Big house in Westchester. 3 cars in the driveway. Family photos, with everyone smiling like we actually liked each other. But inside, it was a different story. My parents, Richard and Margaret, they had this vision of what their daughter should be. Beautiful, successful, married to someone with the right last name. Someone who would expand their social circle, make them look good at the country club. Instead, they got me. Sarah. The disappointment. I was 8 years old when I first heard my mother talking about me to her sister. On the phone. She thought I was asleep. "I just don't know what we did wrong," she said. "She's so difficult. So stubborn." The other mothers, they all talk about how proud they are of their daughters. And I have nothing to say. That's when I learned that love in my family was conditional. You want to know what difficult meant? What stubborn meant? It meant I asked too many questions. It meant I didn't want to take piano lessons. It meant I preferred books to beauty pageants. It meant I was me. When I was 12, my mother enrolled me in this etiquette class for young ladies. She spent $300 to teach me how to sit properly, how to speak softly, how to disappear into the background. "Sarah," she would say, adjusting my shoulders for the 100th time. "A lady never draws attention to herself. A lady supports others, makes them feel important." What she really meant was, make her feel important. My father, he wasn't much better. He worked in finance, made good money, but he was weak. He never stood up to my mother, never defended me when she would go on her tirades. I remember, one night, I was 14. I had gotten accepted into this advanced science program. At school, I was so excited. I ran home to tell them. My mother looked at the acceptance letter and frowned. "Science," she said, like it was a dirty word. "Sarah, that's not appropriate for a young lady." People will think you're trying to be masculine. I tried to explain that I love science, that I was good at it, that maybe I could be a doctor someday. She laughed. Actually laughed. Honey, she said, patting my hand, like I was a confused child. You're going to get married. Have babies. That's what happiness looks like. For women like us. Women like us. What she meant was women with trust funds. Women who didn't need to work. Women who could afford to be decorations. But here's what she didn't know about her precious mother-in-law, Grandma Rose. My father's mother was nothing like my parents. She had built her own business. Back in the 50s, when women didn't do that. She owned 3 restaurants, made her own money, lived her own life. And she loved me exactly as I was. Every Sunday, my parents would drag me to family dinner at Grandma Rose's house. They would spend the entire meal complaining about me, right in front of me. She's so headstrong, my mother would say. I just don't know how to handle her. And Grandma Rose would look at me and wink. After dinner, she would take me to her garden. And we would talk. Really talk. Sarah, she would say, her hands covered in dirt from planting flowers. Don't let them make you small. The world needs women who take up space. She was the only person who ever told me I was enough. When I graduated high school, my parents had very specific plans. I would go to a nice college, study something harmless, like art history, meet a nice boy from a good family, get married by 25, have babies by 27, become exactly like my mother. But I had other ideas. I went to college for engineering. I got a job at a tech company. I moved to the city. I started dating a guy named Marcus, who was brilliant and kind and happened to be black. That was the beginning of the end. Let me know in the comments where you are watching this video from. I'd love to know how many people can relate to having a family that loves the idea of you more than the actual you. Because what happened next when I brought Marcus home for Christmas, well, that's when the mask finally came off. Christmas dinner. 2023, the day everything changed. I should have known it was going to be bad when my mother opened the door. She looked at Marcus, standing next to me, and her smile just froze. Like someone had hit pause on her face. Oh, she said. Just, oh. Marcus, being the gentleman he is, extended his hand. Mrs. Harrison, it's so nice to finally meet you. She looked at his hand for 3 full seconds before shaking it, like she was calculating how quickly she could wash the contact away. Yes, she said. Sarah mentioned she was bringing someone. Mentioned like I was bringing a disease. My father appeared behind her. Same frozen smile. Same calculated politeness. Come in, he said. But his voice had this tone. Like we were strangers, he was forced to let into his house. The living room was perfectly decorated. As always, everything in its place. Everyone playing their roles. My mother had invited the usual suspects. My cousin Jennifer with her banker husband. My Uncle Paul with his perfect wife. All of them sitting there in their coordinated outfits. Like a museum display of suburban success. Marcus tried to make conversation. He asked my father about his work. Complimented the house. Brought up the weather. But you could feel the tension. Like electricity before a storm. My mother kept looking at me. These little sideways glances. Like she was trying to figure out what I was thinking. what my plan was. Because in her mind, this had to be some kind of plan. Some kind of rebellion. Some way to hurt her. She couldn't imagine that I actually loved him. Dinner was a nightmare. My mother had made all my childhood favorites. Ham with pineapple, green bean casserole, sweet potatoes with marshmallows. I made all of Sarah's favorites, she announced, looking directly at Marcus. Though I'm not sure what you prefer to eat. What you prefer to eat. Like he was some kind of exotic species. Marcus handled it perfectly. Everything looks delicious, Mrs. Harrison. Thank you for having me. But I could see in his eyes that he understood what was happening, what they really thought of him. My cousin Jennifer started talking about her recent promotion at the law firm, how she was finally making partner, how proud everyone was. It's so important, she said, cutting her ham into perfect little squares. To have stability, security, to know where you're heading in life. She looked at me when she said it. Sarah's always been the adventurous one, my mother chimed in. Always trying new things. New people. New people. Like Marcus was a hobby. Something I would grow out of. My Uncle Paul started talking about real estate. How important it was to buy in the right neighborhoods. How property values depended on maintaining certain standards. You have to be careful, he said, looking directly at Marcus. About who moves into your community. It can really affect things. Marcus set down his fork. What kind of things? He asked. His voice perfectly calm. My uncle stammered. Well, you know, property values. Schools. That sort of thing. What sort of thing, exactly? The room went quiet. My father cleared his throat. Paul just means that neighborhoods have a certain character. And it's important to preserve that character. That's when I snapped. You mean it's important to keep it white, I said. My mother gasped. Actually gasped. Sarah Elizabeth Harrison, she said. Using my full name, like I was 5 years old. How dare you speak to your family like that? How dare I? I stood up. How dare I call out the racist garbage you've been spewing all night? We are not racist, my father said, his face turning red. We just have concerns about your choices. My choices? I laughed. You mean my choice to date someone who isn't white? We mean, my mother said, her voice shaking with anger. Your choice to throw away everything we've given you. Everything we've built for you. What exactly have you built for me? I asked. A life where I pretend to be someone I'm not? A life where I marry someone I don't love just because he has the right skin color. Marcus reached for my hand. Sarah, maybe we should go. Yes, my mother said, standing up. Maybe you should. She looked at me with this expression I had never seen before. Pure disgust. I don't know what happened to you, she said. But this isn't who we raised you to be. You're right, I said. You raised me to be a racist. You raised me to be small. You raised me to hate myself unless I fit into your perfect little box. That's enough, my father said. You're being dramatic. As usual. Dramatic. 32 years of emotional abuse. And I was being dramatic. You know what? I said, grabbing my purse. You're absolutely right. This isn't who you raised me to be. Because the person you raised me to be was miserable. My mother stepped forward. Her eyes filled with tears. But not sad tears. Angry tears. If you walk out that door, she said, with him. Don't bother coming back. I looked around the room at all of them, sitting there in their perfect clothes, in their perfect house, with their perfectly empty hearts. Fine, I said. Fine. My mother laughed. Fine? Sarah, if you leave with him, you're dead to us. Do you understand? Dead. I looked at her for a long moment. Okay, I said. And we left. Marcus didn't say anything until we got to the car. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry that happened. I was crying, but I was also relieved. Don't be sorry, I told him. For the first time in my life, I know exactly who I am. Before I tell you what I did next, if you're enjoying this story, please subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Because what happens next, when that inheritance check showed up, well, let's just say my family learned the hard way that declaring someone dead doesn't always work out the way you planned. 3 weeks after they declared me dead, 3 weeks of complete silence. No calls. No texts. No. We're sorry. No. We didn't mean it. Nothing. I was actually starting to heal. Marcus and we had talked for hours. About everything. About family. About boundaries. About what it means to choose your own life. I was finally free. And then my phone buzzed. Bank of America, inheritance deposit, successful. $2.7 million. I stared at that number for 10 minutes. Just stared. Because I knew exactly what this meant. Grandma Rose had died 6 months ago. The funeral that I wasn't invited to. The reading of the will that I wasn't told about. The inheritance, they told me, didn't exist. My hands were shaking when I called the estate lawyer. Miss Harrison, he said. I'm so glad you finally called. I've been trying to reach you for months. What do you mean? I asked. Your grandmother's will, he said. She left very specific instructions. Everything was to go to you. But your parents, they told me you had moved. That they didn't have your current address. They didn't have my address. The same address I had been living at for 3 years. The same address they had sent Christmas cards to. Mr. Peterson, I said. Can I ask you something? Of course. Did my parents know about the inheritance? The full amount. There was a pause. Miss Harrison, your parents were the executors. Of course, they knew. Of course, they knew. They knew that Grandma Rose had left me everything. They knew that she loved me, that she believed in me, and they tried to steal it. Mr. Peterson, I need to ask you to send me all the documentation, everything, the original will, the correspondence, everything. Certainly, he said. Though I should mention, your parents have been calling quite frequently. They seem to believe there's been some kind of mistake. A mistake. Right. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Grandma Rose, about our Sunday conversations, about how she always told me to take up space. And I realized she had given me the ultimate tool to do exactly that. The next morning, my phone started ringing. Mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then Dad. Voicemail. Then Jennifer. Then Uncle Paul. Then people I hadn't heard from in years. All of them, suddenly, very concerned about my well-being. The voicemails, they were something else. Sarah, honey, we heard about Grandma's inheritance. There's been some kind of mix-up. Obviously, she meant for this to be split between The whole family. Obviously. Sweetheart. I know we had words, but this is bigger than our little disagreement. This is about family. About doing the right thing. The right thing. Sarah, call us back. We need to figure this out. Together. As a family. As a family. The same family that declared me dead. I saved every voicemail, every text, every email, because I had a plan. You see, my mother, she's very active on social media, Facebook, Instagram. She loves posting about family values, about love, about Christian kindness. She has about 2,000 followers, friends from the country club, church ladies, high school classmates, all watching her perfect life. And she was hosting her annual charity gala the next weekend for the Children's Hospital. All of Westchester's finest would be there. I bought a ticket Saturday night. I put on my best dress, did my hair, my makeup. I looked perfect. I walked into that ballroom like I owned it. The moment my mother saw me, her face went completely white. She was standing by the auction table, talking to Mrs. Wellington, the mayor's wife, about the importance of family values. Sarah, she said, her voice barely a whisper. What are you doing here? Hello, Mother, I said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. I came to support the charity. You know how much Grandma Rose loved helping children. The mention of Grandma Rose made her flinch. Sarah, this isn't the place. Isn't the place for what? I asked. To talk about family? To talk about the inheritance that Grandma Rose left me. Mrs. Wellington leaned in. Oh, Margaret, you didn't mention that Rose left an inheritance. My mother was trapped. All around us, people were listening. It's complicated, she said. Actually, I said, pulling out my phone. It's quite simple. Would you like me to read Grandma Rose's will? Out loud. Sarah, please. To my beloved granddaughter, Sarah, I began reading from the document. Who has always had the courage to be herself. I leave my entire estate. Stop, my mother whispered. Including all properties, investments, and personal effects. Because I know she will use this gift to build the life she deserves. The crowd around US was growing. People pulling out their phones. The life she deserves, I repeated, looking directly at my mother. Not the life you tried to force on her. My father appeared behind her, his face red with embarrassment. Sarah, let's discuss this privately. Privately? I laughed. Like we discussed it privately when you told me I was dead to you. Gasps. Actual gasps from the crowd. You told your daughter she was dead to you? Mrs. Wellington asked, her voice full of shock. It wasn't like that, my mother stammered. It was exactly like that, I said, turning to address the crowd. 3 weeks ago, my parents disowned me because I brought my boyfriend to Christmas dinner. My black boyfriend. More gasps. Phones coming out. Recording. They told me I was dead to them. They cut off all contact. And then, when they found out about my inheritance, suddenly they remembered I existed. My mother looked like she was going to collapse. That's not true. Really? I pulled out my phone. Should I play the voicemails? The ones where you beg me to call so we can figure out how to split My inheritance. The room was completely silent. You see, I continued, my voice carrying across the ballroom. My grandmother knew exactly who I was. She loved exactly who I was. She left me everything because she believed I would use it to make the world a better place. I looked around at all the faces, at all the perfect couples, in their perfect clothes. But my parents, they tried to steal it. They told the lawyer they couldn't find me, even though they had my address. They thought they could just take what belonged to me. My father grabbed my arm. That's enough, he hissed. I pulled away. Don't touch me, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. The crowd stepped back. Someone called security. You want to know about family values? I asked the room. Real family values mean loving someone for who they are, not who you want them to be. I turned back to my parents, both of them standing there, humiliated, exposed. Grandma Rose gave me everything, not just the money. She gave me the freedom to choose my own life. I started walking toward the exit. And I choose a life without you. The last thing I heard as I left was Mrs. Wellington's voice. Margaret, is that really what happened? And my mother crying. Actually crying, but not sad tears. Angry tears. Because for the first time in her life, she had been publicly humiliated. And there was nothing she could do to fix it. The fallout was immediate, and it was spectacular. By Sunday morning, the video was everywhere. Someone had live-streamed the entire confrontation. On Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook. #DeadToUs was trending. The comments were brutal. Imagine disowning your daughter for dating someone black in 2023. The audacity of trying to steal her inheritance after cutting her off. Grandma Rose knew exactly what she was doing, but the real consequences started Monday morning. I was drinking coffee, reading the comments, when my phone rang. Marcus was laughing when I picked up. Babe, he said, have you seen your parents' Facebook pages? I hadn't. I had blocked them months ago. They've both deactivated, he said. Completely gone dark. Good, I thought. But that was just the beginning. Tuesday. I got a call from an unknown number. Miss Harrison? This is Rebecca Martinez from Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about your story. Interview me? We've been following the viral video, and we think your story represents a larger conversation about family, acceptance, and inheritance rights. I said no. I wasn't ready for that level of attention. But other people were talking. Wednesday, I got a text from my college roommate Jessica. Sarah, I just saw the video. I'm so proud of you. Also, did you know your mother got fired? Fired? I called her immediately. Jess, what do you mean, fired? She worked for that nonprofit, right? The children's charity? Well, after the video went viral, the board held an emergency meeting. Apparently, having a board member who publicly disowns her daughter for dating someone black is bad for fundraising. Who knew? Thursday, the texts started coming from family members. First, my cousin Jennifer. Sarah, I'm so sorry about everything. I had no idea about the inheritance or about what they said to you. Can we talk? Then, Uncle Paul. Honey, your aunt and I, we feel terrible. We should have spoken up at Christmas. We should have defended you. should have, could have, would have. The language of regret. But the text that broke my heart came Friday morning from my father. Sarah, I know you probably won't read this, but I need you to know that I'm ashamed of what I said, of what we did. Your mother, she's been in bed for 3 days, crying. The whole town is talking. People cross the street to avoid us. I lost 2 clients this week. Big clients. Because of what happened. He continued. I know you have no reason to forgive us, but we want you to know that we're going to counseling. Both of us. To figure out how we became the kind of people who could hurt our own daughter. Counseling. Too little, too late. But then, Saturday morning, I got the letter from the law firm representing my parents. They were suing me for the inheritance. They claimed that Grandma Rose was mentally incompetent when she wrote the will, that she had been unduly influenced by me, that the money rightfully belonged to the family, the same family that had disowned me. I called Mr. Peterson immediately. Don't worry, he said. I expected this. I have extensive documentation of your grandmother's mental competency, including video testimony she recorded specifically for this purpose. Video testimony? She knew, he said. She knew your parents would try this. So she recorded herself explaining her decision. Want to hear it? I did. Grandma Rose's voice came through the phone. Clear, strong, determined. If you're hearing this, she said, it means my son and his wife are trying to steal what I left for Sarah. Even from beyond the grave, she was protecting me. Richard. Margaret, if you're listening, shame on you. I raised you better than this. Sarah is the only one in this family who had the courage to be herself, who chose love over prejudice, who chose authenticity over appearance. Her voice got stronger. The money goes to Sarah. All of it. Because I trust her to use it for good. To build a life based on love, not fear. The recording was 20 minutes long. It detailed every conversation she had ever had with my parents about me. Every time they had complained about my choices. Every time they had asked her to talk sense into me. And her refusal to do so. I will not, she said in the recording, be part of breaking that girl's spirit. She is exactly who she's supposed to be. Within a week, my parents dropped the lawsuit. Their lawyer had told them there was no case. But the damage was done. My father's accounting firm lost 6 major clients. My mother couldn't show her face at the country club. They had to withdraw from their church. The house went up for sale 3 weeks later. They were moving to Florida, starting over, where nobody knew their story. I got one final text from my mother. I hope you're happy. You've destroyed everything we worked for, everything we built. Was it worth it? Was he worth it? I stared at that text for a long time. Then I typed back, yes. Choosing love over hate, choosing authenticity over approval, choosing myself over your version of me. It was worth it. It was worth everything. She never responded. But Marcus, he was there when I sent it. He wrapped his arms around me and said, your grandmother would be proud. And for the first time in my entire life, I knew that I was enough. Exactly as I was. The inheritance allowed me to quit my job, to start my own nonprofit, For kids who had been disowned by their families. For LGBTQ plus youth. For kids who dared to love differently. We called it the Rose Foundation. And on the website, there's a quote from Grandma Rose. Take up space. The world needs people who aren't afraid to be exactly who they are. Because sometimes being dead to your family means finally being alive to yourself. So here I am, 2 years later. Marcus and I got married last spring. Small ceremony. Just our real family. The people who chose us. Who loved us exactly as we are. Grandma Rose's garden was part of the inheritance. We had the ceremony there, among her roses, her favorite flowers. I like to think she was there, watching, smiling. The Rose Foundation now helps over 300 kids every year. Kids who, like me, were told they weren't enough, weren't right, weren't worthy of love. We give them scholarships, counseling, but most importantly, we give them what Grandma Rose gave me, permission to be themselves. My parents, they still live in Florida. We don't speak. Sometimes I wonder if they think about me, if they regret what they did. But then I remember that some people love their image more than they love their children. And that's their loss, not mine. The viral video changed my life, but not in the way you might think. It didn't give me revenge. It didn't make me feel superior. It gave me clarity. It showed me the difference between being loved and being controlled, between being accepted and being tolerated. Real love doesn't come with conditions. Real love doesn't require you to shrink, to hide, to pretend to be someone else. Real love says, I see you, all of you, and you are enough. If there's one thing I want you to remember from this story, it's this. You don't owe anyone a smaller version of yourself. Not your parents, not your family, not anyone. Your life is yours. Your choices are yours. Your happiness is yours. And if people can't love you for who you are, then they don't deserve you anyway. Even if those people share your DNA. The inheritance wasn't just money. It was permission. Permission to choose my own life, to build my own family, to define my own worth. Grandma Rose knew exactly what she was doing. She was setting me free. And sometimes the greatest gift someone can give you is the courage to walk away from people who don't deserve you, even when those people gave you life. Because being alive and being truly living are two very different things. I choose living every single day. If you liked this story, check out this other one on the screen about second chances and finding your real family. See you there.